Welcome back. This is our second set of tutorials. Once again, we're going to split this into three main parts, and each of those parts will have small areas for learning. This set of tutorials is hopefully going to move us closer to having services that are production ready. We're going to use a different code base for this one. Similar concept, there's a series of services that take part in doing various things. For this, we're looking at an API repository. The first part of this is we're going to have our document storage. Now, we are going to do some processing on these Swagger documents that we're uploading from our clients later on. What we want is a service that is reliable. Ideally, we want a service that we can take down and bring up and update without actually affecting the overall ability for clients to use our system. In order to do this, we need multiple instances running, and in order to do that, we need to be able to discover where those instances are dynamically at runtime. So let's head over to the code and talk about some issues around service discovery and what we've got so far.
Welcome back over here, and looking at our code base that we're on, we have a web API service that has a host, which is a Consul app, and we have a core and it has a controller in it. We have an API document that we're generating using some of the tricks in the previous one to make a nice clean API document. And we have a sample app here that will just keep calling our service until we press X. So that's it. Let's fire it up and see what happens. And the first thing we'll notice is we get an exception, and the exception is because we haven't supplied the address of the service to hit. So this brings us back to our point about service discovery. We all do service discovery one way or another. Whether we discover a service by us manually putting in an address or hard coding it into our code, or into a configuration file, environment variable, whatever we do, we somehow discover where our services are. Now, well, obviously, hard coding it into our application is probably the worst of the options. Putting it in configuration is a close second. The reason for that, what happens if we now have two services? We have to have both of those services in our configuration files. We need to try each instance of those services, fallback, etc. Now, I'm not saying that service discovery will remove our need for fallback, but it will certainly help with the idea of having multiple services in configuration and probably stop some of that fallback. So there we go. We now have our service instance in here. However, if our service moves, changes port even, doesn't have to change machine, once again, we can't discover our service. To fix this, in this project, we're going to use a solution which can be used on-prem. It can also be used in the cloud, and this is called Consul by HashiCorp. This has a few features. One is service discovery. The next is health checking built in, and also a key value store. Now, the key value store can do more than just storing key values, and we'll come to that later on. However, the concept of this is you have a small agent that runs on the machine, or in a Docker style environment, what you might have is an agent that runs once in the Docker host or on a Docker image within the host, and then all your services contact that agent. That agent can run health checks against your services, and then the agent itself syncs back with a cluster of servers, which then will manage which agents are alive, what health checks are available in a global catalog. So, in order to use this, we are going to go the Docker route, as that's where we've gone for SQL Server so far. It means very soon we can look at how we can launch multiple Docker containers nicely. For now, however, we're just going to chuck it into our batch file. And I know that's not the right way to do Docker, but to get up off the ground, that's the easiest way. First of all, we're going to make our Docker file, and we're going to take it from the console latest image. Now, we're not actually going to do anything else in this Docker file other than expose port 8500, and that is the default port for Consul. We may put other stuff in there later, so it's always good to build a Docker file. Next up, we will build that to test it. Just running docker build. We can use the command that we'll want to put into our script. So //docker slash, and then the folder name that we gave it, which is condenser.net.consul. And we'll chuck that in there. And we'll call the container the same thing. So -t and then the name. The mistake we've made here is the Docker repo name has to be all small letters. That's no problem. We'll just change that. And we'll try again. And we're in the wrong path. So we need to go into the script folder to simulate what will happen when we run our script. And we'll run it again and it builds. Excellent. So we will put that into our script. Now we've confirmed that that works. And next up, we will create our docker run command using that. So docker run, and we'll expose that port 8500 onto the host, mapping it to 8500. And finally, the Docker container name. Once we've done that, we should be able to now run. We'll just change this to SQL Server while we're here, actually. And I will change that in the build. Okay. So now we've got our two containers. We can build them. And let's check that we can run them. So build first, build Docker. And there's our SQL Server building, excellent. And there's our Docker building, and then we will start Docker. Check that they both start up. So SQL Server started. And Consul started. Do a Docker PS to see our containers. There's our two containers. And then we open with Chrome our port 8500, and look at that, we have the Docker UI. It shows that we have one service, which is actually just the agent. And we can see some details there, which we'll go into later. That's it. Excellent. So, in our next one, we'll show you how to actually use our In the next one, we'll show you how to actually use Consul for something more useful than just starting it up and going into the GUI. Thanks for watching. See you next time.